Hey everyone, it's Jackie from PrimeParentsClub.com, and I'm so excited to talk to someone that's really special today because it's an area that I'm really intimidated about. So I wanted to have Suzanne Krowiak on from IndyFoodSwappers.com in Indianapolis, and she's going to talk to us about something that you may or may not heard of. It's pretty hot right now. It's called food swapping. So welcome, Suzanne.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's fun.
So excited. All right, just for us newbies, why don't you go through, tell us what a food swap is and food swapping. It sounds kind of naughty, but it's not.
It's not naughty. No, it does sound it. It's always nice to talk about something that sounds naughty.
It is.
It's exactly the way it sounds. You're swapping food. So we get together. We have our swaps every other month, and people show up in the same space, and we bring food that either we made at home, grew in our garden. It's just there's really no limitation except that it comes from your home in some way. And it's a one-to-one swap. So if I bring 2 jars of jam that I made, then I'll go home with 2 of something else. Or if you bring 10 of something, you'll go home with 10 things. So it's a one-to-one swap, so there's really no pressure because we generally have between 30 and 40 people at our swaps.
Wow.
So that's one thing people worry that, I've heard this. That's one thing, and I've gotten questions like that. They're not sure if they have time to make enough for 40 people. Well, you don't need to do that. You don't need to worry about that. It's really just you take home as much as you bring. So if you want to take home a lot of stuff and you have a lot of stuff to bring, that's great. If you just want to, try it out and take a couple of, you could make some of your favorite chocolate chip cookie recipe and package them in groups of 6 or something and take 3 or 4 of those. And that's a good way to just kind of see what it's about, see what are things that other people bring. And so that's sort of the general concept. And do you want to know a little bit more about actually how it works during the swap?
That's interesting. Okay. Well, first of all, you bring up chocolate chip cookies because that's the first thing that went through my mind. I told you when we were corresponding over email that I want to come to your food swappers. But
yes, I want you to come.
I'm really
not intimidated by the time we're finished today. That is my goal.
I'm really intimidated, which is strange because I can cook. But I have this intimidation that you're a bunch of group of like really highbrow foodies that are, and if I bring my bag of chocolate chip cookies in, you're going to be like, oh, we spent 3 hours making homemade vodka sauce and she brought chocolate chip cookies. So I have this vision of it's like a bunch of really, chef level foodies who like write and blog and are really cool. And, I'm like the work at home mom who's going to bring chocolate chip cookies.
Right. Oh, no. First of all, I will swap you for your cookies and I'll probably eat them and her on the way home because those are the first things to go in my swap take because I'm starving when I leave. And no, it's not that at all. And even the first swap, I think maybe 1 or 2 people came with someone they knew, but otherwise people just kind of showed up and weren't sure what to expect. And we had everything. There are always people bring cookies, which are always really popular. And it's not that. It's the opposite of that. The idea is to encourage experimentation, encourage people to just try something. And it really, that when you have a group of people like that, they don't want to judge you. They just want to try your food. They want to eat what you brought. And they don't want to be judged either. So it's more about let's all get together. Let's see what everyone brought. Let's support each other. Let's give each other, foodie high fives on, oh my gosh, I love this hummus you made, or I can't wait to try it. We all sample things, and it really, really is not that. And I've heard that before. In fact, I think I sent you a link on my blog, 5 reasons not to fear the Indy Food Swap. Indy has an amazing local food scene. We have local chefs. We have people doing that. That's not us. Like if we are trying hard and we maybe people who come have, there are some very talented people who come, don't get me wrong, but that's not what this is about. This is not some Olympic game of, food preparation and come show off and see who gets the gold medal. It's about, I like to work in the kitchen and And a lot of times when you like to work in the kitchen, you make, if you're going to be doing it, maybe make some extra and take it to this place where you can trade it for things you may have never tried, or some of your things that are your favorites, but you just don't have time to make that in your own schedule. I kind of joke about, let's just kind of embrace our culinary diva status and go with it and have fun. And,
I love that.
Just spend the day with other people who like to cook. And we're not chefs. We don't have restaurants. We just like to work in the kitchen. We like to meet other people and talk to other people who like to do the same thing. And we have an appreciation for homemade things. They don't have to be super gourmet. They don't have to be, it's great to come home after a swap and maybe with dinner I have some hummus that I swap. And there's something about opening up that container that, was made by someone in your community that, for me, it adds meaning to my meal. There's something about that. So there's like this extra component to eating it, I think, that adds I don't know how else to say it except that it makes it more special. It makes it an event in a way. If you know that someone, maybe you just met that day, or maybe you've known for a while, made that in their kitchen, and it's not didn't come on a truck from who knows where.
Right.
So that's fun too.
What if you get something that sucks? I mean, I know it has to happen. You don't have to say it, but I know it has to happen.
Right. Let's see. I really, honestly will say that has not happened. I mean,
wow.
It's not, you're not gonna. You may. So if you've got 30 people there's going to be things that you don't like.
Right.
Like I don't like whatever nuts in my baked good, or we have people who come who are vegetarians, so and they're not going to want to swap with the woman who brought venison jerky,
right?
And so, I think that's one thing we always try to do when we start the swaps, especially for people who are there for the first time, is to not take it personally if someone doesn't want to swap with your stuff. That it's really, people have allergies, they have food sensitivities. They just have personal preferences about, things they like to eat and not eat. So, but the good thing is there's so much great stuff there that you're going to find stuff that you like and find people who are going to want to trade with you. So
now,
it really doesn't happen yet.
How does it work? Is it a lottery? Is it bidding? Do you just throw it all in the middle and everybody goes for it?
Throw it in the middle and we go 1, 2, 3, go.
Which would be kind of interesting.
No, so we have tables, and everyone just sort of grabs table space when they get there and puts everything they brought out on the table. And then this is, can you see this? This is a bid sheet. So everybody gets these when they come in. So if let's say you brought to a swap chocolate chip cookies. So you would get one of these sheets, and you would fill out your name and the item, chocolate chip cookies. If there's anything about it special, like you like to serve it, with warm milk, or if there's anything in it, like if you make a gluten-free version, you could know this is gluten-free, just special things about it. And then you just sort of put this out by your stash of cookies, and then we take some time. Everyone walks around, looks at what everybody else brought. A lot of people bring, have little samples, so you might take a few of your cookies and break them up into small pieces and put them in front of your table space. And so we have some time where people walk around, see what's there, try some samples, and then we start what we call like a bid process. So there's no exchange of money. So what people can do, so they can walk to your bid sheet, and let's say I brought raspberry jam, and I wanted some of your chocolate chip cookies. So these would be offers. So I would write my name, Suzanne, and what I wanted to trade you for, like raspberry jam. So you go around to all the tables and sort of bid, write down things that you would like to swap for, and then these aren't really like in stone commitments. It's more sort of people expressing interest in what you're doing. So then we all go back at a certain time to our spaces, take a look at our papers, who's interested in swapping with us, and then we literally, it's like ladies and gentlemen, start your swapping, and you just kind of pick up your goods and walk around. And this is a starting point. Like if you saw this and you had seen my jam and you tried it, and you really liked it. And if you see me on here, then you might grab some of your cookies and go straight to me and say, "Hey, here are the cookies. Can I have your jam?" But it also just sort of works. People are just kind of walking around with their stuff, running into each other. And it's hard to explain because even before the first swap, knowing how it was going to work in my head, based on how other swaps in other cities were doing it, I knew it would work because I was assured by others that it would. But I still couldn't really imagine it myself, and that's the hardest thing, I think, for people to understand, that you just kind of get up and walk around, and somehow it works out, and you walk back to your spot with an armful of this great stuff that you get to take home and eat for yourself or share with your friends or family. And so then that's it. Kind of you do the swapping at a designated time, so it kind of all happens at once. And then everyone packs up their goodies and goes home with what they swapped for.
It sounds way more fun than going. It sounds way more fun than going to a jewelry party, I have to tell you.
Yes. Yeah, and it's great because also somehow, when you're walking around sampling, people are just excited to be there, and they're excited to try new things, and excited to meet other people who are interested in the same kind of things in the kitchen. Not so much this, maybe even not the same things. Like,
right.
I preserve, but I would say less than 25% of the people who come are preservers. You know what I mean? So people who don't preserve are interested in learning about that. I'm interested in learning about, like, there's a guy who brings his own home-brewed beer. That's something so it's interesting to talk to him about, what he does, what he likes about it. And it's also, frankly, as has been said to me, people who come for the first time and maybe were intimidated, like, you're saying you are, they're like, I was so intimidated, but it was so fun. So it's nice to see them relax and be happy that they came and start talking before they leave about what they want to bring to the next swap. So that is really the most fun part, to see people who are maybe nervous. You can even tell they're nervous when they walked in. Just kind of exhale and have fun and talk to people and be excited when they leave about coming back the next time.
So we're not talking the mean girls of the foodie world.
No. In fact, we will. No. They go to mean girl jail. They're not coming back. But they don't come. It's not. That's the opposite of the vibe that it is, that we want it to be. I mean, that's no fun.
No.
No. And who would want to come to that? And the idea
the mean girls.
Not just build the actual swap events themselves, but on the blog we do this occasional feature about the swapper spotlight, and it's just kind of a Q&A with one of the swappers, just a little bit about them, their life, what they do when they're not working on, when they're not in the kitchen, and maybe share a favorite recipe. So we trade information that way, and then someone might be on Twitter or Facebook and say, "Hey, I don't remember who brought the pickle, the sweet pickles. Can we find that recipe?" And so then talk to that swapper, and they're happy to share. And people post things that they're doing at home, like maybe someone took home arugula pesto from a swap, and so they'll post a picture of pizza they made with it, and so it's not just about, it's wonderful that day, and going home with all these really wonderful things, but it's also about, connecting people in the community, introducing people to new places and people, and because, in your own sort of daily life, your life with whatever, your friends, or your family, or your kids, at your school, your church, we all have close connections in those sort of, those spaces. But maybe all those people aren't, I love to cook. I love to talk about cooking. I love to, if I find a new recipe, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so good, it's tasty, it's so good. Don't you want to talk about how good it is for an hour? And wants to do that
right.
in my like circle here. So it's totally selfishly, that's one reason to start something like this, is to find people, connect with people who are happy to talk for an hour about how great dish A is or something, you know? So it's a way of just expanding your own circle of people, meeting people who have similar interests but maybe don't live in your neighborhood or even in your part of town, but people you can connect with and share ideas with via email, Facebook, Twitter, and someone you can email if, you know, like, hey, I tried your cookie recipe and it didn't taste like the way you made it. Can you talk about what I did? Or so, I mean, it has really expanded my world in so many ways. Like the people that are a part of my life now because of the swap, that I just am so grateful for them and for just the friendship and the enthusiasm and the laughs and so yeah, it's great. It's really, so that's a really wonderful part of it. Probably the best part, really. Yeah.
So Indy Food Swappers is turning 1, or maybe has already turned 1?
In August will be our first birthday.
So for 1 year. So let's talk a little bit about why you started this and, you know, why you wanted to do this.
Well, it's kind of what we were just talking about. I read about it. I had actually broken my foot and was forced to just sit. Which, you know, I have 2 young children, and so you don't get an opportunity to just like, you can't do anything but sit down and lift that foot. So, so the universe sort of interceded in that way and put me on my bottom on the couch, and I was catching up on some. I have food magazines and cookbooks up to here all around me. It's like I probably should have a hoarder episode of my very own. But so I was catching up on some of that, and so I read about a food swap in Brooklyn, started by a woman named Kate Payne, and she wrote The Hip Girl's Guide to Homemaking. She sort of started this accidentally. She made too much jam, and someone on Twitter was talking about in Brooklyn about how they had too much honey. Someone had bees. And so she's like, hey, can I swap you some jam for honeys? This led to that. They did this swap in their apartment. Next thing you know, the New York Times is writing about it because a reporter heard about it. And so then this magazine wrote about it. And I thought, what a great idea. And my first thought was, I'm sure someone's doing it here. I just need to find them because I would love to connect with them. I want to go to one. And no one... There weren't any here because it was kind of early in the food swap. I mean, people have been swapping and bartering like forever, obviously, but this form of it was fairly new. And so at the time, it was like, well, okay, well, let's do one. And I had a relationship with the Earth House Collective downtown Indianapolis. This is really in their wheelhouse of things they like to support, and community and wellness and sustainability. And so I talked to them, and they were just right away on board and donate the space for every swap and help us promote it. And so we just kind of picked a date, and I think 11 or 12 people came to the first swap.
That's pretty good for a first meeting. That's pretty good.
Really, and people were excited. Excuse me, I'm popping here. And then it just sort of more people started hearing about it. Social media was integral. Facebook and Twitter, which I hadn't done a lot of before that. A friend of mine, Vicki Bolson, who has the Bolson Group in Indianapolis, she and the people that work with her are very social media savvy, and she had to. She's like, it's a free event, so it's not like we have a budget to work with to sort of let people know about it. So it's really important to use social media to let people know it was happening, because I wanted to connect people, and the way you can do that is to let people know that it's actually happening. I mean, you can't do these things in a vacuum unless you're starting with a large group already. Right. Like, okay, I know 40 people want to do this. Let's meet on Saturday. That wasn't my scenario. It was kind of like what I was saying, where I do have good friends in my own sort of neighborhood, my circle here, but they don't. Not everyone shares my interest in this, and so if I wanted to, help build that community, I needed people to know about it. So, and the best and cheapest way to do that is through Facebook and Twitter. So that really helped, and word started spreading. And so now we're regularly we cap it at 40 people, and so we've been since that first swap. We're usually we fill to capacity usually before the date.
Wow.
And the reason we do that is, when you're doing a public event like this, if you wanted, you need to sort of, it needs to be in some sense ticketing in some way, so that people just can't kind of walk in and that's almost more for because this is a little bit Wild West in terms of how the health departments deal with events like this. So if you keep them sort of, quote, private events by limiting the number of people who, and people who have to be ticketed, even though the tickets are free, that helps that helps in that way as well.
That's a really good tip for, that I'm sure you've learned in the year that you started this. If someone wanted to start one in their city, a food swap in their city, look back over the year. What do you think's the one or two major things that you learned that you wish you'd known at the beginning, or that was kind of a hard lesson for you?
Everyone's been so supportive that I mean, it's in a way I was learning with the other food swappers in other cities, because Kate Payne, the author of Hip Rolls Guide, she also started a Facebook group, so we all talk to each other, and so the Indy Food Swap was one of the earlier ones, but there were a couple that were doing it before I was, and so they had websites, they had Facebook pages and Twitter accounts, so I watched what they were doing, seeing how they were communicating with people, how they were building it. So that would be my advice. And there's another thing that's happened since then. Kate and another girl whose name is escaping me did a foodswapnetwork.com. It's a website, foodswapnetwork.com, and there are all sorts of resources. Like if you want their own versions of bid sheets. You can see, and most of the major food swaps across the country have a presence on that website, so you can see their blogs, see their Facebook pages, and so there was, the one in Brooklyn that Kate started, but I don't know that they had a website at the time, but one city that did have one was Minneapolis, the Minneapolis food swap, and they were really a model for me on how to try and make it work and how to communicate with your swappers and how to structure the events. So that my advice would be to get on foodswapnetwork.com, see how, take a look at what some other food swaps are doing, and just kind of go from there. As happens, there'll be other people in the community that get excited about it and that will volunteer to help you, and that's great. I guess my big lesson would be just get online and see what some other people are doing, and
network.
And let them be a model to you. And they're all really, we're all excited about it and happy to help other people. So also people can reach me through the Indy Food Swappers website if they have any questions. If they, I have a document of the bid sheet. I'm happy to send them, but if they want just sort of a blank document of their own. And I think the other big lesson would be to this idea of deciding, limiting a number and making it an event that people have to have a ticket to. It's just a smart thing to do as these sort of health departments across the country figure out what, how they're going to, what to do with food swaps and how to manage them in their cities. So that's one thing that I think can be helpful as a swap organizer, is to be sort of as official as you can be in terms of who comes, how they're ticketed. Is there a paper? There's sort of a paper record of all of that stuff. That would be helpful too. But the other thing is, if someone's in a situation where they're like, hey, I have like 5 to 10 friends, 10 friends, up to any number, if you're in a very active school group or church group or fitness, whatever, book club, and that all those people have an interest similar to you, then you can just do it that way, and organize sort of unofficially. If you guys communicate via email anyway, like, hey, in our next book club, let's have a swap, and it could be somehow related to whatever book you're reading. I don't know if the book's set at the beach. It's like kind of the sky's the limit and what you want to do with it. But you can also do it very informally that way, where you don't need to do all that other stuff. But if you do need to do the other stuff, Facebook is free. Twitter is free. You can go on WordPress and set up a very simple, have a simple blog website presence where you just let people, just kind of keep people in the loop on what's happening. And, but if you don't already have a network of people that you think would be a part of it, then, and that is what I've seen some other swaps struggle in other cities. We as a food swap group on Facebook just kind of provide ideas to each other, because you might have a swap in Washington State. That's just, they're having a hard time getting people to come, but that's a lot of times because people just don't know about it. So that's the thing. If you want to do one and you don't already have whatever number you're comfortable with that you feel like would be a good group, a good number, is you've got to let people know about it. And so use social media if you're in, and if you're in a city that has a newspaper, let them know about it. If there's a food reporter or someone, kind of let them know what's happening. That's one way sometimes to spread the word. Because especially if you're the first one doing it in your town, people are generally, once they hear about it, they're generally interested in it. So it's just a matter of how can I let people know about it. So use social media. Don't fear social media. When I started using it, I've been using Facebook for a while, just personally, but the Twitter thing made me sweat so much in the beginning. I don't know why. It's very difficult, but now I love it, and it's fun, and it's such a great way to communicate with people. So that's the other thing. If you don't use it, maybe ask around a friend who does and see if they'll, pat you on the back while you're doing it, and give you some confidence. And because that's especially if you want to keep the events free, which you're going to, that's obviously the best way to get people to participate is, then you need to find a free way to let people know about it. And social media is really the best way to do that.
What's your favorite thing that you ever swapped and received at your food swap?
That is a tough one.
I bet.
It's so hard because there's so many different categories. I honestly, it's like picking a favorite. Can I give you more than one? Because there's so many. But this is a good example. So,
of course,
like someone brought chicken stock out of their freezer.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I was so happy. Like,
yes.
If you don't have your own freezer, that's kind of a process. So
it's a big deal.
Let's see. There have been baked goods that have been so good. At the first swap, someone walked in. She walked in with literally, she must have just pulled them out of her oven, like a tray full of homemade, like, buns, like, kind of sandwich bread.
Wow.
There was a collective gasp in the room. Like, warm bread, just wants it. And, last time, someone, like, some arugula pesto. This was, she just got in some Tupperware, and little thing is Tupperware to share. Sriracha salt. I brought this too. This is a good example of why food swapping is awesome. is from the last swap, and this is honey salted caramel that someone made.
No.
And I traded some sort of jam for this. And
are you kidding? I would trade my 4-year-old for that.
I know. Look at this. And the thing is, so I've eaten some of it. I think it's so special that I'm like, it's just sitting in my refrigerator. Because I'm like, if I eat it, it'll be all gone.
Right.
And so I'm trying to balance my need to want it to be around with, the idea that you should eat this if it's so good.
Yes.
But the other thing is, if you were at some specialty store, this thing would cost you, what, like $8?
At least.
Like a jar this size of a honey salted caramel homemade.
At least.
And so, and this cost me nothing other
right.
than, my jar that I traded for.
Right.
So this is good. Really, there's so many things. It would be hard to narrow it down because there's just been someone brought those those cake pops thingies that are used like at Starbucks or whatever. But this was a homemade version. It's homemade yogurt.
Wow.
Oh, this radish dip that Erin Colgan, who was won the first Swapper Spotlight, she brought to the first swap. And it was like legendary. Everyone wanted the radish dip. And, some grape jelly that Amy Altman, another swapper, made. Honestly, I'm not trying to, not hurt anyone's feelings. I'm literally, there's so many good things. And I love that stuff so much. And there's really nothing that I would take home that I would, I'm just excited. I love that kind of stuff. Those kind of homemade things, salty, sweet. Someone brought eggs. I brought home some eggs. I was so happy.
That's awesome.
Their back chicken.
It sounds fantastic. It sounds fantastic. Well, I have to tell you, Suzanne, you've made me, I'm intrigued, but I was intrigued anyway, but you've made me even more intrigued. And I think I'm going to try one of your food swapper meats.
I think you should.
I think
you should. Don't be afraid because there's no reason to. It's not that kind of environment. Everyone is about, it's supportive. It's not, there's no judgment in that room. There are only growling stomachs who want to try whatever it is you brought. It truly is not, it's just not that kind of environment. And frankly, that would be who would want, who would want to go to an event like that. And, so I hope you do, because I think if you do, well, you'll be excited that you did. You'll be relieved, and you'll really be relieved the moment you walk in the door, because you'll see the energy in the room. You'll see people talking to each other who just met when they walked in the door, and that'll go away. That'll go away basically instantaneously. So I hope you try it, because I think you would love it. It's not for everyone. If someone doesn't, if they don't like to make anything, and not even just make anything. If you also people bring a bunch of basil from their garden. You can trade that. But I'm not trying to talk to anyone who has no interest in food.
Right.
Food, homemade food or homegrown food. To do it if they're not interested in it. But if you are interested and you're not doing it out of some fear of being judged or not being up to par or whatever, no.
I love it.
Allowed, because those people I really do want them to try it, because you'll discover very quickly that that's not what the swap is about. That's not what the people are. There's no judgment in that room. There's just people who want to take home some good local homegrown or homemade food, and that's what it's about. So, and that's fun. There's no downside to that.
No, it sounds fantastic. So Suzanne Krowiak from IndyFoodSwappers.com, thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experience, and for talking us who are a little intimidated into joining one of their local food swap groups. I'm definitely going to come, and then I'll either write about it or we'll talk about it again. And I'm not going to bring...
You gotta come.
I am. I'm not going to bring chocolate chip cookies, though.
Okay. Although, I wouldn't mind. That's my favorite kind of cookie. So, but I'm not going to tell you what to bring.
Get right.
But bring anything. It
Great.
doesn't matter. Whatever you like to make, bring. And people will be like I say, is if you bring it, they will swap. People want to swap.
It sounds fantastic. There was nothing that you mentioned that I wasn't like, that's awesome. Some basil, eggs, yeah. So it really all sounds fantastic. It does. So what we'll do is we'll put Suzanne's information on below this post on primeparentsclub.com, so you can follow her on Twitter and Facebook, and also visit her site, which is indyfoodswappers.com, and check out her meetings if you're in Indy. If not, and you want to start your own group, follow Suzanne on her social networks, and I'm sure she'll be happy to answer the questions that you have.
Yeah, you can email me through the website or ask me a question on Twitter or Facebook, so if you go to the Food Swap Network, in addition to finding resources if you want to start your own swap, you can also see if there's one close to you. There may be one close to you already. Most of the swaps are registered on that site, so people can find them. But if there's not one near you, there are lots of great resources to get started. And also, if you want, if people can email me, I'm happy to help and send whatever material I have that can be helpful.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks, Suzanne.
For talking to me. It was fun.
It was fantastic.